Very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much from studio. We are joining you live from the Kenyatta International Convention Center, where we are joined by a delegate at this event. She'll introduce herself and tell us who she is and what this event has been about. Kindly introduce yourself.
My name is Sandra Owera. I'm the Chief Executive of the COMESA Business Council, and I'm actually the co-host of this event with my partner, the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, from the private sector side.
Okay.
Yes.
So you've said you are co-hosting this event.
Yeah.
So what is this event about, the 21?
The Source 21 COMESA Business Summit and International Trade Fair is bringing together over 30 or so countries and businesses, SMEs, high net worth enterprises, investors, and companies that are coming in from international markets and looking to partner with local businesses to strengthen their market share within Africa. The event is specifically focusing on promoting quality African products that are produced domestically but have not had a chance to actually penetrate regional markets across Africa due to the various impediments to business and trade. One of the key being knowing your market, knowing your product, and understanding the regulatory requirements that will help you to actually access those markets. So for the next 4 days, we're going to respond to those questions. We're going to support the private sector to actually get in touch with government regulatory authorities to build relationships, engage, and access some of these markets that have previously been quite a bit of a challenge to access before. And this is, of course, within the spirit of promoting a borderless territory in COMESA and the larger Africa within the African Continental Free Trade Area.
Now, speaking of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, it was recently launched and everything is a go. How can African products, Kenyan products, position themselves to take advantage of the 1.2 billion market that we are now open to?
Okay. It should be noted that it has been moved to an operational phase. So we will be trading, ideally we'll be trading under the African Continental Free Trade Area in 1 year. On the 1st of July 2020. So what does that mean for business? We understand that now our market share is 1. We have a large pool of businesses. We have over 1.2 billion consumers that are sitting within the African market. We also have a chance to consider transactional costs that have been previously quite detrimental to business and negotiate for a fair playing deal that will allow for us to be able to transact and sell our products across quite a number of borders without necessarily being hampered by the encumbrances of trade facilitation logistical requirements that take over 5 to 7 days or a week or a month and the like. So the African Continental Free Trade Area is actually responding to a key question that the private sector has been calling for over the past couple of years. How do we get our products to the right markets? And how can we move past the existing barriers to trade and access a market in West Africa without necessarily looking at all the domestic policies that are going to factor into that product and make it more expensive as it reaches the West African market, hence uncompetitive. So we are foreseeing a lot of negotiations with the regulatory authorities with the participation of the private sector to ensure that the policies that are put in place, the instruments that are going to be put in place are speaking the language of business in promoting trade and competitiveness across the region. I'm happy to say the rules of origin themselves have actually been discussed extensively and they're now suitable to the private sector. And what we're now focusing on, especially within this particular platform, is the aspect of market accessibility.
Yeah. And that was a session that heads of state had in the morning.
Yes.
They had a discussion over it. But before we even came on this discussion, we were saying we need to go one step ahead beyond having these discussions, putting proper regulatory measures in place. We need to go one step ahead.
Yes. And the one step ahead, of course, as the private sector, is to partner. We have to actually take that step to understand what we want to do as a business in Africa. We have to change our mindset to understand that our products are they have an equal quality opportunity as an international product coming into the African trading space. That mindset needs to also be built on consumer confidence for African origin products. That mindset also needs to understand that we have to make our pricing more competitive to suit the consumer's purchasing power. And that is a step as private sector that we actually need to do. From the regulatory perspective, it's important that the governments take the step to provide flexible, business-driven policies. We have a challenge right now of domestic taxes that are increase in the cost of products that are export ready. And by virtue of that fact, you find the products cannot actually compete with similar products in regional or international markets. So while we are taking the step forward to become the consumers of our own products and also produce in great volumes and with the right pricing and with the right negotiating power, we are also expecting the governments to set up those regulatory reforms that can actually assist us to be able to do business better, more efficiently and transparently within the African market. So this forum is also going to be discussing the issue of illicit trade within COMESA and how we can actually inspire credibility within the African market to attract our regional investors and also to promote more indigenous company investments within Africa.
Finally, as we wind up, let's talk about SMEs. 80% of businesses in this country are SMEs.
Yes.
Most of the businesses in the African continent are SMEs.
Yes.
How do we ensure we empower SMEs in terms of financial inclusion and every other thing they might need, particularly getting the goods and products out there, all challenges constant in the market?
That's very true. I'm happy to say as COMESA Business Council, we have a very strong focus on boosting the technical capacity and productive capacity of small and medium enterprises within the COMESA region and the larger Africa. One of our key interests is promoting local sourcing. So we actually understand that SMEs have a key business impediment in terms of meeting standard requirements. And standards are actually a key requirement for any buyer. Within the purchasing requirement list for buying a product, a buyer would actually make sure that the company that they're actually going to buy a product from has been certified, whether through HACCP, whether through the National Standards Body or through the ISO certification. So these are some of the key aspects that we're actually trying to tackle. Secondly, I'm happy to inform you that within this particular business forum, we've just launched the Source 21 COMESA Business Facilitation Handbook that is specifically to the interests of small and medium enterprises, especially those that are looking to access various markets. The handbook provides information on the core products within the region. What are the products? What are the volumes? What are the values of those products? Where can you import from? Where can you export to? You can also understand the regulatory environment within the 21 COMESA countries so that you can actually strengthen your presence as a small and medium enterprise. In terms of financial inclusiveness, one of our core focus areas is to try and help SMEs become bankable. Because while we keep on talking about financial inclusivity and accessing finance, it's important to note that every bank has a commercial interest in also being successful. Nobody wants a non-performing loan, but it's also important for the SMEs to understand how they can actually put together their products or their services and package them so that they're also attractive to the bank. And this evening, during the COMESA high-level dinner, we'll be discussing about bankability, financial inclusiveness, and strengthening SMEs' access to finance within regional and international markets.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Well, there you have it. We have, with the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, currently we have a market of 1.2 billion people. And this summit that has been set up right here is just seeking to ensure that African products are of quality and of high standards so that they can be able to access and penetrate this market and beyond. We are looking at growing SMEs to become bankable businesses so that they can scale up from being SMEs to big businesses that can employ millions and millions of Africans. We're still here. We'll be keeping tabs on how events unfold. Back to you in studio.